Welcome, 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 everyone, to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who has a passion for social justice, voting advocacy, and culture. And that is the whole purpose of my YouTube channel. I am so happy. I had booked for tonight Reverend Dr. Robert R.A. Turner as my guest, and he's not here just yet. So we're going to chat for a little bit. Just bear with me. And what I could do is show you one of his videos in the meantime until he gets here. Okay, let's do that. So hold on just 1 second. Hold on. Okay.
America! Tulsa loves you! As of today, May 12, 2021, the city of Tulsa, state of Oklahoma, the United States of America, has never investigated the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. And we have come because God is not pleased with how you are treating his children. When I first came here, they called it a riot. It was the Tulsa Race Riot, Tulsa Race Riot, Tulsa Race Riot. God called me to speak and have them recognize it for what it is. It is a massacre. And I opened my Bible up and I took out my bullhorn every Wednesday, rain, sleet, hail, or snow, to let the world know. Reparations now. I'm Reverend Dr. Robert Richard Allen Turner. I'm the pastor of historic Vernon African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Jesus sees us as he saw Matthew's sheep without a shepherd.
We are in the heart of the Greenwood District. Yes, sir. I am. You got it? All right. Greenwood Avenue is the name of the Greenwood District because it was the major thoroughfare for the entire Black Wall Street area. Black Wall Street was over 37 square blocks of 600 Black-owned businesses, over 1,000 plus homes. It was the most prosperous place for African Americans in the country. To this day, it'd be hard to find a place within a 35 square block area that had over 600 Black-owned businesses. Like today, it'd be hard to find a place with over 1,000 Black-owned homes today. And we had that, and we had hotels, 5-star hotels, restaurants, theaters, banks, libraries. We had everything. It was a self-contained economy. If you were standing here 101 years ago, you would see homes all throughout here. You would see homes all throughout here. You would see Dreamland Theater, the Stratford Hotel, right on where our grassy portion is. You would see skyscrapers, 3-4-story homes all throughout this area. This was the site of our library. The colored library is what they called it back in that time. And now it's the site of our baseball field. So instead of building something back that brought education and enrichment, they bought something for entertainment. And they called this team the Tulsa Drillers. And normally teams are named for what the city is known for. This city is best known for killing people, killing Black people especially. Instead of them being called the Tulsa Drillers, we call it the Tulsa Killers. So 100 years ago, in this area, there was a shoe shine boy named Dick Rowland who was accused of assaulting an elevator operator, Sarah Page. Some people say he stepped on a shoe, he slipped, bumped into her. Whatever happened, she screamed. And the elevator door opened, people heard her scream, he ran out. All that was needed was for him to be accused of assaulting a white woman. And a lynch mob assembled outside the courthouse. Black men come to help enforce and protect Dick Rowland. These are black men who had just came home from the World War. One of the white men approaches one of the black men and asks him, what is he doing with that gun? You know, what are you doing with that gun? Nigger. And the black man said, it's my gun. I use it if I have to. And the white man didn't like that, tried to take the gun from him. The gun goes off, hits the white man, and literally all hell breaks loose. And what ensued after that was less than 18 hours of sheer terror, where all those homes, the 1,256 homes, were burned down, destroyed. Those 600 Black-owned businesses, destroyed. Over 20 plus churches, destroyed. 10,000 people made homeless in less than 18 hours. We had bodies dumped in mass graves. Over 300 people of note were killed.
This city is proof positive that these divided states of America is not the citadel of excellence. This city is a hypocrite.
Right.
God called me to proclaim to the city the need for her to recognize what she did and to repent of this sin of racism, of white supremacy, and to repair from it. Recognize, repent, repair. Every Wednesday, I mention those three things. I'm here today with my bullhorn, my Bible, and my sign, Reparations Now.
Remember Greenwood. The land of Greenwood belonged to us.
There was over $2.7 million worth of damage in 1921 money. You can compound that for today, and that's well over $500 million. So the first recommendation was direct payments to the survivors. The second thing was, in the absence of the survivors, direct payments to the descendants. The third thing is scholarships for the descendants. The fourth thing was a business economic incubator for Black-owned businesses. And the fifth thing was a memorial where the bodies that were dumped in mass graves could be interned. My first time doing it was September the 12th, 2018. I never will forget it. I knew I was supposed to do it. Beforehand, I was talking to people, trying to see if I can get anybody to come with me. And as I was sitting in the car, I was contemplating delaying it, right? I was like, I'm by myself. And I could hear the audible voice of God. And it shook me when God told me, I'm here with you. And when I heard that, man, I got out my car. I could feel like it's somebody else here. Not just God, but I could feel a cloud of witnesses. Like, to me, I felt like the ancestors who were killed in this space, they were like walking behind me. And man, I've never walked so tall in my life.
And as long as God equips me to stand,
I do this not in spite of being a pastor.
and if I can't stand, I'll crawl.
I do this because I am a pastor.
And if I can't crawl, somebody can roll me out here.
And because the members of this church in this physical building were destroyed, just to see what they saw, that just touches me. Sharing their story is a remarkable feat. Watch your step. These steps have not been changed in 1925. This is the basement of our church. During the massacre, we were building on top of our basement, and they destroyed that. This room was the room people actually hid in. We call it our refuge room. Fire was on this side. No fire reached over here. As we did our construction work, as soon as they broke through the concrete, the construction workers immediately smelled smoke. We haven't had a fire in our basement since 1921. And it's amazing that nearly 100 years later, the smoke can still be smelled. This pillar right here and the buckling on here represents the fire damage from the race massacre of 1921. And in 1995, when we remodeled the space, we just painted over it, basically turning this into just a post to fit in cosmetically. It's what a lot of people did after the massacre. They just didn't talk about it. As a community, we just handed over it. We didn't talk about it because we were afraid. We were intimidated into silence. If the massacre had not happened, I can easily see the number of Black patterns continuing to rise. And we would have a lot more Black inventors. We would have like Black Steve Jobs and Zuckerbergs, and we would have our own Silicon Tech Valley. It would have impacted even the world because we could have been a major player. When I first came here, they called it a riot. It was the Tulsa Race Riot, Tulsa Race Riot, Tulsa Race Riot, Tulsa Race Riot. God led me to go out and speak and have them recognize it for what it is. It is a massacre. This protest has changed me at the core. I didn't tell myself to start, but every time I fight God, I always lose.
How many times has God woke you up out of your slumber and your sleep? How many times in your life has God paid bills for you? How many times in your life has God raised your children for you? How many times
I go just about every week. And so it allows me an opportunity to learn more about him and his passion for justice and passion for standing up for others and what he believes that they are due. Because reparations is not just about the jingle in your pocket. It's not just about money. It's about justice. It's about doing right by those who didn't have an opportunity to say, please don't shoot me. Please don't kill me. Please don't hook me to a truck and drag me down the street.
I definitely would like to see reparations. Things that I've asked for, I would like to see them done. And I would do it until whenever God tells me to stop.
just for us, so we pray God. Say yeah, say yeah, say yeah, yeah.
All right, all right. So our pastor is here. Let me bring him up and introduce you to him. There he is. Let me make that bigger. Let's see if I can. Nope, it didn't work that way. Let's see. Okay, okay. How are you doing, Dr. Turner?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Hold on.
Glad to hear.
I got a little of an echo.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. Well, it sounds a little better now. Okay. I think. Do you hear it?
I don't.
I don't know
I
what.
can put my.
Let's see. Now I don't hear. Okay, you went on mute. Okay, unmute yourself.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I just played the video of you. It was called the Vice video by Vice, I think it was. Repent, repair, or something. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But it was a great video of you showing your protest and what have you. I want to give an introduction of you formally. I always do at the beginning of the show. Okay, so you are Reverend Dr. Robert Aara Turner. I don't know what that audio problem is. Hold on. This is driving me. Okay. Maybe I don't know. Okay. We have Reverend Dr. Robert Aara Turner. He is a millennial that we are in need of in this hour in our nation. He is from Alabama, a son of the South. He is a cum laude graduate of the University of Alabama and began making headlines nationally there. He was featured on CNN for the University Faculty Senate apology for slavery that took place there on Alabama's campus. Dr. Turner helped lead a movement which caused the University of Alabama to recognize the presence of two slaves, Jack and Boise, who were buried there on campus. Fast forward to him furthering his education, getting his doctorate degree, and a plethora of other accomplishments, including marrying his soulmate, Sheree Turner, and having two sons. Dr. Turner was assigned to the historic Vernon AME Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the historic Greenwood area, where it was the only remaining edifice standing after the massacre, the Tulsa race massacre. Dr. Turner's years of social justice work will come front and center on the national stage in perfect timing for the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa race massacre. Dr. Turner is the founding president of the historic Greenwood Main Street District. He's on board of the 1921 Race Massacre Centennial Commission, the Tulsa Mass Graves Oversight Commission, and many, many more. So welcome, Dr. Turner. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you.
It is indeed my pleasure. How are my good friends in North Carolina and the Raleigh-Durham area?
Doing
Give my
well.
love to your pastor, my good friend, Dr. Augustine.
He is doing awesome. The only thing I forgot to do was to pull up the picture I took of the two of you, but he's doing great. He's going to be coming on June 5th to discuss Christian nationalism.
Yes.
You know, so we can understand all these evangelicals being Trumpers and that kind of stuff.
That's right.
That's totally not incongruent with the Lord, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So listen, I want to just give you a chance to tell the audience that we have today and those that will hear the replay, what exactly was the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921? And in the meantime, anybody that's on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll let you talk, Pastor. Tell us what it's about.
Yes, so the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre really is a continuation of white racial terror in America that began right after emancipation, when Black people gathered together, trying to exercise their rights and trying to make the Constitution real for themselves. And at every point of that approval process, we were met with a white lash, right? Where the things that we built with our hands, with no help from anyone, was destroyed by a white mob, and a white mob that never saw justice. So we had the first ones right after slavery. It continued on, most prominently after the movie Birth of a Nation came out. And the movie Birth of a Nation came out in 1914, was played in the White House by then President Woodrow Wilson. He lauded the movie, said it was history written in thunder. And it was like the first major motion picture. And in this movie, Birth of a Nation, it depicts a white woman, damsel in distress, who was about to be attacked by this Black man who was, because of racism, they didn't hire Black actors, a white actor in blackface, who had an elongated nose, and the Black people were depicted as loving to eat watermelons and fried chicken and just lazy, and epithets, really. So instead of being touched by this Black man who was actually a white man in blackface, she jumps off a cliff, commits suicide. The Ku Klux Klan arises to defend her honor, and they were applauded in the movie. And they went and they sought to kill Black people, or bring us to justice, or tame the angry black male beast. The black male beast had to be tamed. And so this psyche was put in America, right? And it motion pictures, as they are now, they shape culture, whether it's fact or not. The fact that it was done, it made it seem as though it was real. And so it just further increased the fear that white people had. The Ku Klux Klan at the time of the movie Birth of a Nation had lost membership, right? It had diminished because it was seen as this old Confederate style organization that was losing membership. But after the movie Birth of a Nation, Ku Klux Klan membership skyrocketed, right? So that happened in 1914. 1919, after the World War, Black men coming back, Black men who fought, Black men who died for this country, who was in Europe, and they were treated somewhat humanely. They come back to America and they want to continue to be treated like citizens, like people, because they just risked their lives for this nation. White folks didn't like that. They all over this country, right? It happened so much in the summer of 1919. It was called the Red Summer of 1919, where we had over 20 plus race massacres across the country, and in every geographic location you can imagine. We had them in East St. Louis, we had them in Washington, we had them all over you. In fact, everywhere pretty much Black people lived, we had our own Black Wall Street. You had one there in Durham, right? I mean, everywhere Black people live, we supported each other. We had our own economic ecosystem, and white folks didn't like it. And it's nothing that white folks built. It's nothing that white folks gave money to. They just did not like the fact we had our own, and they destroyed it. They took it. They took and destroyed our buildings. They also during that time, because it was against the law for Black people to know how to read, especially in the South, they just took our property. They took our property after those massacres, because the deeds were sometime in the courthouse and in our house. If it was burnt up in our house and we didn't have proof, we own the building or own the land, they took it. They just straight took it. We had bank accounts, and as we do today, we put money in the bank. In that time period, though, after our houses and business was burned down, the banks just all of a sudden lost our money.
Yep.
And when we filed insurance claims, they
didn't
honor
insure
our
it.
And so that's why a lot of Black folks from that time period did not believe in investing money in banks, because they didn't trust. And that has caused a ripple effect on future generations and how we cannot build wealth. We don't participate in the stock market. We don't believe in stocks and bonds, because we saw banks as people who stole our grandmama's money, our mother and father's money. And so in 1921, right, still at that same mode, after 1919, Black people were like, look, this is not gonna happen again. We started organizing Brothers for Defense, things of that sort, organizations. And Tulsa, Oklahoma, right, which 2 years before the massacre, they had a reunion. A lot of folks don't know this. They had a reunion for the Sons of the Confederacy. They had the Veterans of the Confederacy reunion in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1919. 1919, remember that same year. And these white folks came to Tulsa, these Confederates came to Tulsa, and they saw how prosperous Black people were living in Tulsa. The word is that they kind of ridiculed their white counterparts, like, saying things like, you all can't be really for the conservative or Confederate cause, because you all are allowing your Black people to live in such auspicious ways and such grandiose ways. So they got ridiculed by that, because these Confederate veterans were their heroes, right?
Right.
And at the same time, the business elite in Tulsa had ideas for the land that composed Greenwood, that 36 plus square block area. And they were trying to find ways to just take it. They just wanted to take it. And so one day they had an opportunity when Dick Rowland, shoeshine boy, Dick Rowland, Diamond Dick Rowland, he dropped out of high school because he could make more money shining shoes than with a high school degree. Because for a Black man in that time period, you could not expect for white folks to give you a job, so you had to make your own. And at that time period also, most people wore leather style shoes, so you could make good money shining shoes. And we didn't have a lot of paved roads in our community, so men shine their shoes on their way to work and on their way home from work, right? And so he made good money from doing that. And one day, as most people do, have to use the restroom. And because of Jim Crow, he had to use the colored only restroom, and getting on the elevator. And at that time, elevators were rarely somewhat new. You had to have an elevator operator. Sarah Page was this elevator operator. He gets on the elevator. She punched the floor. Depending on which book she read, historians you listen to, either he stepped on her shoe, bumped into her, whatever. White woman screams. Sarah Page screams. He runs off the elevator. And she never said anything besides the fact people heard that, though. And they write in the paper, hey, Black man assaults white girl. Nab Black man for assaulting white girl, right? She never testifies. And that's important to note. She never testifies. I talked to descendants of Dick Rowland. One of them is working on something right now. They contend that Dick Rowland and Sarah Page left town and got married.
You know what? I heard something similar, that they were a mixed
Yeah,
couple, that
yeah.
she was and
And they could not date on the white side of town, so they dated
right,
on the black side of town. So
right,
that's why the black folk knew his brother he did not assault this woman, right? So they put him in jail. I mean, if you believe that or not, the fact that what happens afterwards still is very valid. They put him in
right,
jail,
right.
and a lynch mob assembles outside of the
Mm-hmm,
county jail,
mm-hmm.
and they're about to hang him. They're about to bum rush the sheriff's office to go and take him out of jail. They're about to take him out of jail
Uh-huh.
to hang him, because in
Mm-hmm.
1921, justice, and hear me well, because you'll see how little times have changed. In 1921, justice was too good for a black man to receive.
Right.
Why
But
waste money on judges and juries?
right,
We know he's guilty. Let's get a tree and a rope and let's hang him.
right.
Right.
But you know what's interesting, Pastor, um,
Hmm.
is that what really stuck out for me when I was doing research on this was how the World War I veterans came marching to the courthouse with their
Those
guns,
my guys. Those
and
my
they had their uniforms on, right? And
those
I
my
was
guys.
thinking those were real stand-up black men, because they were trying to protect him from being lynched, and they were told it was gonna be okay. And then one of the white guys, Tulsa, was pissed off. They see them coming with their uniforms and their guns and stuff, and that's when all hell broke loose.
That's
When they
right.
were messing with the gun and the shot and all this and that. But because there were some stand-up brothers
Yes.
marched to the courtroom, to the
I
courthouse.
Miss Pam, I love that generation of men. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you got brothers who served this country, and guess what else they were doing?
What?
And a lot of folks miss this. They were going to get Dick rolling, but they also were going to support law enforcement. They were back in the blue. They went down there and said, Sheriff, we're going to help you defend Dick Rowland. We're going to help you enforce your law against this angry white mob that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't give 2 cents about his life nor your life. We're going to help
Right,
support you in defending our Dick Rowland. So when people
right.
have this notion that black folk are anti law enforcement, or black folks are just anti authority, no, we were actually we volunteered to fight in wars that we had no rights in and no business in,
Exactly.
right?
Constantly.
Constantly. And so we go down there to help law enforcement. The white man, the sheriff, tells us we don't need. He says we don't need your help, and so we start going back to Greenwood, and then a larger crowd assembles. We get worried about that. Then we come
Mhm.
back, and the sheriff is like, "We don't need your help." Meanwhile, the white mob has grown, and
Yes.
he's never told the white men to leave.
No, he
Only the
didn't.
black men. And then after the Tulsa that you mentioned, and the gun goes off, this same white sheriff deputizes members
Right,
of the white mob
right.
that 2 minutes earlier were about to bum rush his office and kill him,
Yeah, crazy.
and has them
Crazy.
deputized to go against the very black men that went down there to try to defend and help his sorry behind.
You know what? We're gonna get into some more things, but we're gonna remember that word deputized, because I'm gonna
Mhm.
bring that to the 21st century of what's going on in Texas and what
Yes.
have you. But I had a question. Before you went to historic Vernon AME, before the bishop gave you your assignment, were you already aware of its significance beforehand?
Yes, before I went to Tulsa, when I was in Alabama, actually,
Mhm,
I was in law school at the University of Alabama School of Law, Roll Tide.
mhm,
And one of my law school professors there Al Brophy, who was a part of the lawsuit. He was one of the legal members of that team, and Professor Malvo was one of the legal members of the team with Professor Ogletree and others,
mhm,
who initially pursued the reparations case. Right, and
mm,
in fact, that was during the time I was struggling with my call to preach. I
mhm,
didn't, believe it or not, I didn't want to be a pastor. I definitely want to be I didn't want to be a pastor at all. Barely
mhm,
wanted to be a preacher.
mhm.
Um, and I was vacillating on that. But then when I heard from God clearly on what I was supposed to be doing, I was preparing to leave law school, and
Mhm.
Professor Brophy
Mm-hmm.
to attempt to keep me in law school. Says because he knew even at 21 years of age, he knew at 21, 22 years of age, I was just young, thought I could change the world, and reparations was something that I was passionate about in my early 20s, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
before anybody was talking about reparations. I've been preaching this thing for the longest, as long as I
Mm-hmm.
can remember. And he was like, Robert, I know you are passionate about reparations. If you stay in law school, I'm working on this lawsuit right now in Tulsa. Right? I said, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah. He said, and if we win, I know you care about reparations, from slavery and things of that sort. But if
Mm-hmm.
we win this, it could be a watershed moment for the reparations movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you could be, you could help further the cause reparations as an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Never in a million years, but I think, just 15 plus years later,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in that same city,
Mm-hmm.
furthering the cause reparations as a pastor. And it
Isn't
shows
that
you what it
something?
is. Mm-hmm.
It's really something because we never know how God, well, he orders our steps. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it goes. I'd love to know about the 3 remaining survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Um, Mrs. Mother Viola Fletcher, who's 108 now. Mrs.
Yeah.
Leslie Benningfield Randall, who's
Mm-hmm.
107, and Mr. Hugh Van Ellis, who's
Yeah.
101. Now, did they all go to historic Vernon, A&E?
No, 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 ma'am, not at all. They did not. But I've met several of them. I met Miss Viola. I've done communion with. Now Miss Miss Leslie Randall was
Mm-hmm.
actually it is an AME.
Mm-hmm.
Member of St. Paul when she was able to go actively to church, and I've done communion for her.
Uh-huh.
Sweet, sweet, sweet person, sweet soul, and praying that they get their reparations. I was happy to see the in kind and the actual financial donation that they received thus far. They recently received, I think, another $1 million or whatnot, and it's just excited and happy for them on that as
Mm-hmm.
well.
I see. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that was really kind of that entrepreneur, I forget his name, that gave you that gift. Right. Um,
Yes,
the mayor of Tulsa, G.T. Bynum, who
yes,
is a Republican,
yeah,
he speaks so eloquently about how terrible he feels for the Tulsans who lost everything in the 1921 massacre. Yet, Mayor Bynum states that he does not agree with any monetary compensation. He does not want to tax Tulsan residents. And, you know, doesn't the word say something about, the sins of the fathers? I mean, I'm just saying.
hmm yeah. No, I hear you. And that Mayor Bynum, I know him personally. There's a local paper, not local now, it's national paper now. That did a story on him and his parents. His family is very deep in Tulsa history. I believe one article even mentioned that his family had ties in slavery. And he does not believe in reparations, right? He thinks it's divisive. This is the same mayor who allowed Donald Trump to come and speak at a super spread event where a lot of people believe Herman Cain got COVID, right, and died. Um, so that was very divisive in and of itself. His comment about not having people pay taxes for people for benefits or whatnot, I think he fails to realize that the people who lived in Tulsa during 1921, they paid taxes too. They paid taxes that paid for a fire department that didn't put out one fire. They paid taxes that paid the salary of the police department that did not make one arrest. And in fact, the same police department that had evidence from the race massacre had pictures, right? And doing one of the mass grave excavation committees, you can look it up. It's on YouTube somewhere. I questioned the mayor about where the evidence is, and they said that they lost it. And my contention is, how can an agency like the police department that is charged with collecting evidence, how can that agency lose evidence, not just from a petty theft crime, but from the worst crime in your city's history? How does that evidence just disappear, right? And so, but to your point about, because I've heard people say that a lot when HR 40 was being debated in Congress, and I support HR 40 also, by the way. I'm on NARC, which is a group that really stands in support of that as well. Because I heard a Republican congressman say that, the Bible teaches that, the sins of the father should not be passed down to the children. And the Bible does say that. And that's right. Right. But we're not talking about the son here. I want people to understand what we're talking about. Slavery was made legal by the United States of America. Slavery was upheld by the United States of America. The Tulsa Race Massacre was done not in the territory of Oklahoma, but it was done in the state of Oklahoma, in the municipality of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Same state, same nation, same city. We're not talking about a child. America, you are the daddy. You are the father of slavery in America, the United States of America. You are the father of this racist institution, this peculiar institution we call slavery in America. Oklahoma, Tulsa, you are the father of the worst and largest race massacre in American history. But what America and what Tulsa, what Oklahoma has tried to do with the massacre, and what America has tried to do with slavery and racism, is try to deny a child that they birthed. They're trying to make racism seem to be the illegitimate child of America. No, it is the actual child of America. And it's past time you pay your child support. We call reparations. You are the daddy. Take care of your kids. We're not trying to pass anything on to your children. Now, if America ceases to exist one day, another country comes up, then I can get that point about the sons paying for the father's sins. But we are talking to the father. America, you the father. Pay for your kids. Give them some lunch money. Reparations.
Okay, so we're gonna circle back to that point that I made before about deputizing citizens. So during the massacre, white citizens of Tulsa were deputized to round up Black folks to do whatever they want. And doesn't that sound eerily similar to what the state of Texas has put on the law books, I believe, about with the abortion cases? They have deputized people that if you think Sally Joe is going to get an abortion or whatever, you are deputized to do whatever. And if you bring her to justice, you get $10,000.
Yeah. So, no, anytime. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Anytime white people, white America, wants to do something they feel may be morally questionable, they put the onus or the decision on a local entity, right? They did the same thing with slavery. They said, we're gonna let the states slide. That's why the South, I'm from Alabama. That's why the South seceded from the Union, because they wanted states' rights to what? Have slaves. Because the country was not willing to make an official decision for the land and say slavery is outlawed in these United States of America. And in fact, I constantly say these divided states of America, because on issues of moral imperative, America has always been divided. We let local decision makers make those tough choices. We are only united when it comes to who we're going to bomb and who we're going to go to war with. But when it comes to having a moral backbone, when it comes to integration, when it comes to outlawing slavery, when it comes to reparations, we are allowing people to do things on a local or state level because we don't have the backbone to do it on a national level.
Okay, I'm going to make one more request. All of you that are listening on YouTube, please thumbs up the video and please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so Dr. Turner, with the targeted massacres of Black people in this 21st century, Mother Emanuel, that was 9. Buffalo, New York, that was 10. And I'm sure there's some others that I can't remember or I purposely try to forget. What do we do? What do we do now?
I'm gonna give you a tease from the sermon today that talks about level up, right? And in the sermon, talking about how Jesus this week, this Thursday is Ascension Thursday. We talked about it and celebrated today. And during the text of Luke 24, I believe we started verse 50, or verse 18. Jesus went to Bethany and he ascended into heaven. He called just 11 of his disciples to go with him to watch him ascend. And the key thing about this text is that this comes after Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. And both of those things are very important, but they overshadow his ascension. And I want to tell you the ascension of Christ is more important than the crucifixion and resurrection. Why? Because Jesus wasn't the first nor the last person to be crucified. Several other disciples were crucified. He wasn't the first to be resurrected. The widow's son, Zarephath, was resurrected by Elijah. Lazarus was resurrected by Jesus. But Jesus, the first and the only person to not only be crucified, be resurrected, but to also ascend into heaven, meaning he never died. Lazarus died. Zarephath's son died again after he was resurrected. Jesus, the only one that was crucified, resurrected, and ascended, meaning he didn't just get up, he stayed up. And that's a shout by itself. A lot of folks can get up from a problem or from a situation, but a lot of folks can't stay up. You know, we get up every morning, but how many of us gonna stay up, right? Black people, we've been crucified. We've resurrected. Every generation, God sends us a prophet to help resurrect us. But the question is, can we stay up? And that's to your question that you asked about those massacres. Black people, can we stay up and stop always having to feel we need to die? You know, Jesus died once and for all. We need to stop dying to ourselves. We need to stop. When I say die to ourselves, I know we have to die to our flesh, but we have to stop dying to who we know God called us to be to make white folks feel comfortable. We need to stop dumbing down ourselves and stop making ourselves seem lesser than who we really are as a people. After every massacre, after every killing of a black person or at a black church, they always call upon us to immediately forgive, immediately make peace, immediately have prayer vigils, immediately go and have a church pulpit swap. Immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately. Why nobody encourage Ukraine to forgive Russia for their invasion? Why ain't nobody encourage Ukraine? Well, why don't you just see things from Putin's point of view? Can't you just forgive Putin? No, we send missiles, we send money to Ukraine.
Money,
for Ukraine.
Millions of our taxpayer dollars,
but not a penny
millions.
for my pain. As a black man who was a descendant of slaves, who grew up in the South, who suffered racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that black folk, we feel like we always got to die on the sword and not advocate, even though we're mourning and grieving? Mm-hmm. We also need to seek our justice. And there's nothing unchristian about that. There's nothing antithetical to scripture about seeking for your justice.
Mm-hmm.
We can forgive, but you can still advocate for justice at the same time.
Right.
That's those two things are not mutually exclusive. But black people, we have been denied our humanity in seeking justice.
Right.
We only called upon, and the black church is only called upon to have prayer vigils, right? They probably out there to lead a prayer for prayer breakfast. But when we speaking for our people and speaking truth to power, then we radical. Then we crazy. Then we know how they try to demonize Jeremiah Wright, and we let folk demonize our leaders. Yeah. We let folks demonize Jeremiah Wright. We let folks talk about our strong black leaders. And we don't even want to fool with them anymore because white folk don't like them. So that's what I would say to that. Because they're gonna guess what? They're gonna still keep killing us, unfortunately. So the prayer vigils, the accepting apologies, resolutions, they hadn't stopped these white boys from coming into black churches and going into white grocery stores and killing them. So if we're gonna get killed anyway, we may as well advocate for reparations. Because they're gonna kill us, they're gonna still fight us and not like us regardless. So
Right.
I'm gonna die. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die on my feet. I'm not down on my knees.
Amen. Amen. Y'all see why I had him on this show today. That is a full word. Point blank, period. We die, you're gonna die on your feet. So tell me now, Dr. Turner, you got reassigned. That's one of the things that we definitely know about the AME Church.
Yes.
We get reassigned. You're now at Empowerment Temple. So tell me what's going on at Empowerment Temple. Tell me what you're doing. I know you're doing something.
We doing everything. I'm shaking every tree. I'm trying to get everybody that I know to come to the most powerful place on the planet. We are hitting the ground running. We are back in service in person every Sunday at 9:30, every Tuesday at 7. We're doing community work. I challenge my church leaders. We have a community event every single month to help and bless somebody that can't even help us back. You know, we really believe in that Matthew 28. When I was hungry, that you feed me. When I was thirsty, that you give me water. When I was naked, that you clothed me. And not just giving people things for as need arise, but the next session, the next season, the next phase is to try to systematically approach things from a deeper, comprehensive level to ask the question, why are these same group people still hungry? Why is this same demographic of folks still homeless? Why are these same people in the same socioeconomic situation they have been in? Why do we live in a community where we purchase more but own less than anybody else? And those are the crucial questions that we're going to be researching about for Baltimore. And now nationally, we know why. I mean, nationally, we understand why. Nationally, we know the policies that have been presented in this nation since emancipation, right? Because during slavery, they didn't need to put any policies for anything about Black folks because we weren't considered human or citizens. But since emancipation, this country, this government that they call United, I call these divided states of America, because it's always divided on issues of morality for Black people, especially, have created laws and crafted laws that were never intended to see us succeed.
Right.
Ever.
Never.
We came here as chattel, and since emancipation, the goal for us is to be a permanent underclass. The Dr. Claude Anderson speaks about that better than anybody I've ever heard before. And if we're not careful, if we don't change the tide in the next decade, Black people will unfortunately be at the bottom, be almost a permanent underclass in this country if we don't start supporting each other and start uplifting each other.
I know.
And start demanding reparations.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is as I get excited on my social media timeline, seeing all of the wonderful graduations and accomplishments of our young people. Too often we're seeing just the opposite of us shooting one another, the proliferation of guns, this constant violence.
Yes.
And I don't know how we fix that, because if we don't have strong families, we won't be able to level up.
But guess what?
Okay, tell me.
If I mean, and we can, and I do. I'm a huge pro-labor, pro-union person. I advocate for increased minimum wage. I advocate for increase in funding for public schools and education. I advocate for inner city development, all that wonderful stuff. But the simple math is this: if we don't get a massive infusion of dollars and cents, we will not close the gaps, and we will not reach our full potential. Case in point, anytime white folks are in trouble, do you remember the recession?
Oh yeah.
They didn't nickel and dime their way out. They didn't just say, well, we're gonna pave a couple of streets. They didn't say we're gonna just hire a couple hundred folks. They gave $1 trillion bailout plan. You remember that? And it was bipartisanly supported.
Yes.
$1 trillion bailout plan for white people, for corporations who put us in a recession.
Mm-hmm.
When after the World War, when Europe was demolished,
Yes.
we didn't just send a couple of ships over there like we do for mass hurricane disasters, things of that sort. We rebuilt Europe after World War.
Yes, we did.
When Ukraine was invaded,
Oh,
we still sending billions of dollars. Heck,
yeah.
after Afghanistan, Iraq, after we destroyed those countries, we built those countries back up. Only black people, when it comes to black people, they think they can just nickel and dime us,
Mm-hmm.
give teachers a pay raise every 10 years, and it's still not enough because you
It's
got
still,
too many kids in the classroom. You're trying to teach 40 kids with one teacher. That's impossible
right,
because you can barely raise 2 kids by yourself.
right.
How teacher gonna teach 40 in the classroom? But only black folk, they want to throw these nickels and dimes at us. We're supposed to be satisfied. Meanwhile, they know if you're trying to change a problem, and in fact, even when they put money into this stuff, Iraq, Afghanistan, Taliban took that back over in like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the money we put over there, we just wasted. And we have never sought to invest in the black community at all.
No.
And so we got kids graduating from college, graduating from high school this weekend and last weekend. And I'm happy for them. But guess what? If America doesn't have a major shift in her economic policy, those recent graduates, those folk who gonna get good jobs, they think they got good jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They are never gonna be paid enough to live in the same neighborhoods as their supervisors. We have not had a wage increase on the levels that we had in previous decades in the last 40 years. That's my lifetime. I'm still in my 30s, praise the Lord.
Oh.
We haven't had a major wage adjustment in the last 40 years. What we have had is an increase in credit being given out. So instead of raising your salary, they just increase your credit limit.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're graduating from college, but you in debt.
Right.
Because they gave you a credit card at 18.
Right.
And you been maxed out 4 already. So you graduating college with $20,000 in credit card debt, not to mention your college student loan.
Mm-hmm.
How you coming out of that? And they know you can't. And they know you won't. Unless there's a massive infusion of dollars in our community. And where the church comes in that, if our morals are not right, if our perspectives and priorities are not right, once we get our check, Sister Pam, the same hour is given to white folks. Because we're going to deposit our reparations check into a white bank. We're going to go buy a car that's made by a white German company. We're going to buy some jewelry from somebody that's not black. We're going to go buy some Givenchy and Prada and some Yves Saint Laurent, non-black. So if our morals are not shaped, the same thing happened in integration. Dr. King, I love him to death. Fought for integration.
Right.
What happened after integration?
It messed us all up.
Our HBCUs still have not recovered. Our black-owned business still have not recovered. So now to this day, fast forward from integration, the only thing you have that's still black-owned in the black community are funeral homes and beauty salons. That's it.
That's it.
Funeral homes and beauty salons. Because the restaurants, it depends on the kids if they want to continue it.
Right.
The law practices depend on the kids. The medical practices depend on the kids. And you got the black church. That's it. That's why our dollars don't circulate in our community.
Right. I'm finally going to read one. I have been posting people's messages. Here's one: college grads subjected to debt slavery.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. So I support every other social program, but if we are not talking about reparations, we're not really trying to change our trajectory. We're just not. Because just minimum wage increase, and I support that, it's not going to be enough. More factory jobs, 100 jobs in your community, not going to be enough. Because guess what happens when they close those warehouses, like they just did in Tennessee? Family Dollar warehouse closed down.
Really?
You got a whole empty warehouse building.
Did it get moved someplace else to another state?
But guess it did. But in that community, it created a ghetto.
Yeah,
and the same thing happened in LA. That's why you had the Watts riot, because those folks just got laid off a couple of years ago. And so in our community, they put these big buildings, and you go to the ribbon cutting ceremonies, you see people excited about 100 jobs, and you just gave them a tax credit for the next 50 years.
I know.
And that tax credit now, they're not funding your schools, They're not funding your infrastructure, so you still got potholes, and you're gonna have even more potholes because you got these 18 wheelers driving down your street now because you got this big factory. And the only thing you can see for is you got new big warehouse, and maybe just maybe your cousin may work there part time. And 20 years later, they're gonna be gone, and you're gonna have this big empty warehouse in the middle of your community with nobody working at it. And they may pay your pension. Maybe. The jobs nowadays don't even pay pensions, they pay you 401ks. It's based on the stock market, and you know how crazy that is.
I know you don't get pensions anymore.
That's sad.
That's it. I mean, you are lock, stock, and barrel to the stock market.
So these new college graduates that we just talked about, we celebrate, and I'm a part of that generation too. We're gonna be the first generation. Hear me well, Sister Pam. We're gonna be the first generation in American history since the modern era that when we reach retirement, we will not have. Most of us will not have jobs with pensions. All we may have is our 401k, which may be nothing. Depends on what kind of investment we had, and we may have Social Security. And most folks say we're not gonna have that, and we won't be able to collect it until we turn about 80 years old. So we're gonna have a major need for elderly people to work when they 70, 75, 80 years old, because this is the first, my generation, the first ones who won't have a pension. And guess what? We ain't saving either, and we barely have life insurance. So we living for the weekend. We buying all the liquor we can stand. We buying all the clothes we can buy, and that can fit in our closet. And when we turn 70 years old, we're gonna be dependent upon our children. And because our children went to school in classes that had 40 plus kids in them, they ain't learned probably anything either.
Well,
so they're not having good jobs.
We know that we've got a generation that don't know a whole lot now. They're totally void of any history, knowledge, whatever. And then you got the GOP talking about this CRT, this fake crap, and they don't want to teach this basic history.
No.
Black history is American history. Black folk in this country, that is the full scope of American history. But I don't know. We're in trouble. But with those reparations, even if we get the monies or whatever, we really need to have things in place.
That's right.
Educate people about how to utilize and maximize their money.
That's right. I agree.
That's the big thing. That's the big thing. So those banks, Chase Bank,
all of them.
I think Oklahoma, Bank of Oklahoma. Those guys that through the massacre, they kept the money because they didn't have bank statements or the bank to show anybody that they had accounts. They mentioned Hartford Insurance Company was one of the insurance companies that from back in that time that they didn't pay the insurance on the properties that were lost and stuff. So how do you I don't know how you quite rectify all of this.
We cannot. It cannot be rectified until it's repaired. And that's one thing I hope your listeners get from this. We think that we can talk about reparations casually. No. Just like my Latino brothers and sisters talk about immigration rights, which I support, we need to talk about reparations. Just like my environmentalists talk about global warming, Black people need to every town hall debate that there is, somebody needs to ask the question about it's about the survival of our community. Simple, point blank. It's just that serious. We can guess what else? We cannot expect for any political party to take it as a primary issue unless we make it a primary issue. It's the only issue I ask about. Y'all can have everything else. Y'all can have it. I mean, it's everything. If other things are important, but what's most important to me and my community, and I'm unapologetically Black. I've been Black all my life. I'm gonna die Black. Is my people in reparations.
Right. Amen.
Period.
Here's one final comment. It says, "Are too many of our ministers afraid to speak what you
Yes,
are doing and saying, because they are protecting their C3s.
that's right.
They know better. What's
That's right.
C3s? I don't know what C3s
It's
mean.
a 501c3 nonprofit designation.
Okay.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't know, Sister Butler, Brother Butler, you're absolutely right. When I did my reparations protest, um, I I did the first few by myself, right? I couldn't get anybody to stand. But a lot of brothers and sisters, you know, in ministry said they supported me, and some of them did eventually come out later on. I appreciate them. Some of them who have been advocating for it long before, I think maybe just got fatigued. But it is something that if you're, and I'll be honest with you, I got a lot more support from the white clergy.
I know. I saw the video with the guy from the Universalist.
Yeah, good brother, Marlon Level. I thank God for him. I mean, because it got Sister Pam, it got real. Like there were times what I did not know if I was ever gonna leave Tulsa. Like as far as my life. Every Wednesday when I put my clothes on, I thought about this could be the last outfit I ever wear. This could be the last pair of shoes I ever put on. It got real, and I get why people probably didn't want to come or associate themselves with me. But like I said earlier, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die on my feet. I'm just this period point blank, and I'm gonna die for my people. And the words of Fred Hampton, because I love my people, and when I die, I'm gonna die for my people.
Right, that's right. Stephen Lane says feet, not knees. And
that's right, brother.
I know for a fact that he's a pastor himself. So.
Good.
Right.
Good.
Well,
Good.
listen, our hour is up, and I have so enjoyed you. You are welcome to come back anytime. Next time I have you back. Oh, I know. It's one more thing I wanted to show everybody that you're doing.
Okay.
It's to get you to talk about it. Let's see. Oh shoot. Wait a second. Hold on. Let me grab it here. Okay, hold on just 1 second, folks. Okay. All right. Let me share screen. And here it is. You see it?
I know that guy.
You know that guy, right? So you got to tell us about this. A Kelly Kerr, Greenwood Here and Now.
First of all, I don't know who took that picture, but it looks like I'm looking right at him. But I'm really, most of the time when I'm speaking like that, I have my eyes closed. That's why I keep my shades on. I was looking at the skyscraper to see if anybody trying to be a sniper. But yeah, that movie was given rave reviews and it's gonna be shown. I hope everybody can watch it. They did a wonderful job. I saw the premiere of it, and when I was in Tulsa and had a chance to speak. Kelly Carr has a great team, wonderful people, and I think you all will be very pleased.
Okay, all right. Well, as soon as you can tell us or let us know when it's coming out or whatever, we're going to promote it and tell everybody about it. Have to have you back on. Maybe I'll have you and Pastor Jay on at the same time. I don't know if the people can handle both of y'all at once.
Hey, anytime. He said he wants to get me down in Durham anyway, so I may be able to do it in person.
Okay, great. But I would love to have the two of you on. But he's coming on June 5th, I believe.
That's my guy.
On June 5th, and we're going to be talking about Christian nationalism. So we're
going. The only bad thing about Augustine is that he went the wrong way, but I forgive him. I forgive him. He's a good brother, really good brother. One of my best friends.
Yeah, he's Alpha and you're a Kappa.
That's right.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm wearing my red and white now, representing.
Right. Well, listen, I have been I'm just so thankful for you. And everybody seems to be, oh, wow, get so many thanks. Thank God for you, Pastor.
And just y'all keep me in prayer because this work is very difficult and stressful, but it's all divine, and God is able.
Yes, he is.
His
He is
truth will march in
definitely
me.
able. Definitely able. Well, I can't wait to have you back.
Yes.
God bless you and your family. Take
Amen.
good care, and I hope to talk to you soon. See you soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Bless
Thank you. Good night. Good night, everyone. Make sure you thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Oh, here's one more message from thank you, Pastor. God's hedge of protection for
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
sister. Thank you so much.
All right. Good night. Good night, everyone.